Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I recently put something on my social media. It was just a post about some women who have really been a blessing in my life while I've been on maternity leave. And so I kind of want to do a video about my maternity leave. I've been doing a lot of reflection on it because this is the last day of it. It's been 11 months almost, yeah, about 11 months of maternity leave, and leading up to it I didn't know what to expect. I thought would want to go back to work at like 6 months. I thought I was going to be super bored, but it's been really amazing. I'm actually going to miss it. So I want to do a video about the 10 things I've learned about maternity leave. Initially, I was just going to keep this for myself because I just kind of wanted to do a video diary just so I can look back on it in the future. But I thought, why don't I just make it public? Maybe it could be interesting for some women who are pregnant, or some women who are expecting a baby and a new addition to their family, or some women who are on maternity leave now or will be in the future. So yeah, I'm gonna just share what I've learned on maternity leave. The first thing is to be flexible. I'm kind of a person where I'm like super organized. I have a plan, and I want to know what's happening each next stage. But you definitely have to be flexible. I wanted to have a water birth the most natural way possible. I was like, I only want gas and air. I don't even want any painkillers. And I was like, absolutely no to an epidural, because I was just really scared about the needle going in and about possible effects. Yeah, definitely had to learn to be flexible because I ended up having an emergency C-section. And you know, those kind of things are just really not in your control. So I definitely learned having a baby, like, yes, you can try to put them in a routine as much as you can, but no matter what, they're still going to do what they want to do. Like, you could have a time that you want to leave the house, and then literally as you're putting on your shoes, they'll have a blowout. So you just have to be flexible and not freak out when things happen that can delay what you want to do. Yeah, so that's the first thing that I've learned. Oh, actually, also when it comes to being flexible, I had a plan to breastfeed. I wanted to breastfeed for at least a year, and that didn't work out at all. I ended up breastfeeding for only like 2 months because it was super hard for him to latch, and when he would latch, he would just fall asleep. And so it was just kind of pointless. So I expressed for 4 months. I think just about 4 months, I was like, yep, there's no more milk, so off to formula. Also in that process, we learned that Max has a cow's milk protein allergy. So basically there's just a specific protein in cow's milk called casein, and he is intolerant to it. So those are just things that you just never really think about when you're having a baby. So just, I learned how to be, like I said, you gotta learn how to be flexible and just go with the flow and not freak out if things don't really go as according to plan. My next thing that I learned is it really does take a village. Again, I'm the kind of person, sorry, I'm not a YouTuber, as you can tell. I'm not a pro at this. I'm the kind of person that just doesn't want to ask people for help. I want to do everything myself. And I learned that that's literally impossible when you have a child. Like, it really does take a village. I remember my mom came for a month, and that was a massive blessing. My mother-in-law stayed at the house for a week after my mom left, and then ever since, like, she has been amazing with the babysitting, with even just like giving me food so I don't have to cook. Literally anytime I ask her to babysit, like, even if it's inconvenient for her, like, she'll do it. So yeah, it really does take a village. And even just like the friends that I've had, like if you just have any questions and like you just don't want to Google it because you don't want to know what Google has to say about it, it could freak you out. Like, they're there and they'll answer questions. And even my brother and sister-in-law who babysit. And I know some people, like, they have trouble accepting help. But I was one of those people. But ever since having Max, I'm like, yes, I will take all the help I can get. The next thing is I learned that it really does deepen relationships. I think as a first-time mother, I've noticed that like I became so much more vulnerable and open, because it's like you're trying to like keep this child alive and healthy. You don't really want to mess up, and so you will ask any question you can. And so I feel like when you're so open with some women in your life, like in your lives, like that really does take your relationship to another level. Like it's no more of the shallow stuff. Hey, how are you doing? How's work? Blah 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 blah. Like you're talking about real life stuff, you know, stuff that's going on with you, like physically, emotionally, mentally, like how you're feeling, just as a woman, because like your hormones are crazy during pregnancy and afterwards too sometimes. So yeah, I'm really grateful for like the friendships that I've had. And then of course like you have a lot more time to spend with people, because you're not working. So yeah, I've really definitely grown some relationships during this year that like I'm not sure would have happened, if I wasn't on maternity leave. I guess it could have happened, but of course it takes extra effort. So like I'm so thankful for that. The fourth thing that I've learned is that you'll really become a researcher. Yeah, you really become a researcher. I know people always say that like, as a mother you have the mother's instinct and like you always have that gut feeling, which is true. But I'm like, okay, let me just double check this. So Google, I've even like I go past Google and I even do like scholarly research, literally. I have a friend, like, yeah, who will also do that too. She's like, well, and she's a teacher too, so like she's fine. Like she's so good at the scholarly research. Yeah, like you'll just end up on all these blogs, all these articles, especially like when I didn't know what that Max had the cow's milk protein allergy. Like I was doing a lot of research on that, a lot of research about their development and growth. I used to be so into those, what they should be doing at this month, what they should be doing at the next month. And I think after a while, I was just kind of like, okay, just stop. Like he's gonna develop as he develops. It's gonna be fine. But yeah, you'll find yourself always researching. And it's funny, my mom was like, because of that, like, of course, your knowledge grows, which is wonderful. My mom was like, Tola, I don't know what we did in your day because we didn't have Google. I'm like, yeah, how did you just know these things? I guess I don't know, just didn't. The fifth thing I learned, oh gosh, having a baby will really test your marriage. One of my friends told me that she was pregnant with her second child. We were actually pregnant. Her daughter is just 2 weeks older than Max, so we were pregnant at the same time. And yeah, tests your marriage, definitely. And I think it's because it's just a new phase in your life, and in the beginning, a lot of the attention is on the baby and not much on your marriage at all. And I think new seasons always test your marriage anyway. Yeah, so there were lots of arguments. Mostly about, yeah, I think as a mother, like your connection with your child is most of the time is so much more natural than the father's connection with the child. And so I think that like that has to actually grow. So that was one thing. And I own some of the arguments too, like some of the faults. I always just felt that like he can't do it as well as I can. And not just like stuff with the baby, just stuff around the house and like, so I always just want to do it myself, and then I just kind of got annoyed that I was doing everything myself. And because I think because I was like that, he was like, well, I just won't do anything. But thankfully we're past that. Yeah, it definitely tests your marriage. And and I, yeah, when he said this, he said that like I always just think he's gonna mess up, or like he's just not gonna do something properly. And I was like, no, never. I'm always on your side. How could I ever think that? And then one day I was like, actually, I thought about it. I was like, yep, I definitely do that. It's like, I already believe he's gonna fail at doing something even before he tries. So I definitely had to search myself and change my thinking, renew my thinking about that. And thankfully, I thank God that like my marriage, I think right now is like the best it's ever been, honestly. I think we've definitely grown through that. But as you can imagine, going through that while having a new baby, not easy. Definitely takes a toll on the emotions. So I think someone watching this that is pregnant or maybe is going through that, I think you definitely just have to work on, you have to like, you know, everyone have to say like you can't just stay married, you have to like work at your marriage or work at your relationship. Yeah, that work doesn't stop just because you have a child. Like you really do have to work on it. The sixth thing I learned is that, oh yeah, you do things and say things you never thought that you would. Yeah, I remember at one point when Max, again, trying to figure out what this calcium protein allergy thing was, and so his nappies were always just like disgusting, like like when I say blowouts, and like super disgusting colors. And I've learned that like when it comes to, I don't know if it's the same for adults, but when it comes to babies, like you can learn a lot about their health through what their poo looks like. And so we would literally be taking, Ron and I would take pictures of his poo and like send them to each other and say, looks like this, what does this mean? I never, and so one day one of my friends was looking through my phone and I was like, never mind, yeah, that's just Max's poo. So embarrassing. But yeah, just you do things and like even like you'll just act so silly, like just to like make them laugh. You'll have these names for your kids that like just kind of embarrassing. Like I have so many embarrassing names for Max I don't even say in public. Yeah. So, and the thing is that anyone who knows me well knows that like before having Max, like I am not the most like maternal person. Like I loved kids, but like I wasn't always the one that would like, if I see a kid, would scoop them up like and just play with them and love on them, and like I don't know, it didn't always come naturally to me. And I was a little bit worried about that when I was pregnant. I was like, oh, I'm not really the most maternal person. But I remember, I think it was around, I was around like 7 months pregnant, and then I just saw, I was at a tailor, and I just saw this little kid, and I don't know, just something happened in me, and like I just was like, I don't know, I can't even explain the feeling, but like I feel like then is when I was like, yeah, I think I'm maternal. I think I am gonna like love my child so much and like connect with them. Yeah. Yeah, so that's that. Another thing, number 7, that I learned is that you will look a hot mess. I've been wanting to film this video for 2 weeks, but I'm like, I look a hot mess all the time, and maybe I should wear makeup. So I'm literally doing this right before I go to church because I'm wearing makeup for church. Yeah, in the beginning, sometimes I would take a shower like just before Ron gets home at 5. Because there's just not time. When there is time, you're like, I want to sleep. Yeah, you look a hot mess a lot of the time. You just want to wear leggings. you don't really want to dress. Oh, and another thing is that for me, I was wearing the same thing all the time, like the same clothes all the time. Because, first of all, I didn't want to get any maternity clothes because I was like, I don't know, I just didn't want to buy any maternity clothes. I'm trying to think why. Because I was like, yeah, I just think it's a waste. Like, I'd rather just get loose clothing than get specific maternity clothes that like I'm not going to get much use out of after I'm pregnant. And then I gained weight, of course, after having, well, while being pregnant with him and afterwards. And then I was like, you know what? I don't want to buy new clothes for this new shape because I plan to lose the weight. So, like, a few clothes that I did have that were loose, I wore all the time. I think now I feel like when Max, like very recently, like when Max turned 8 months, he's almost 11 months now, was when I was like, okay, let's go. I started to lose the weight a bit and went shopping. But yeah, it was a year of barely wearing makeup and not caring much about my hair and wearing the same clothes all the time, which I'm fine. I'm fine with that. No judgment. I don't think I got any judgment. Like my mom friends that I was around, like it was the same. So yeah, that was what I learned about that. Number 8, I learned that you'll cry more than usual. While I was pregnant, I learned about postnatal depression, baby blues. And I was just like, you know what? I'm fine. Like, that's not going to affect me because I'm just not like an overly emotional person. I'm not really that emotional, but it definitely changed after having Max. Like, sometimes I would be just really upset and sad and not really know why. Or just like little things like would make me cry, which kind of scared me because I'm like, why am I feeling like this? Like, I shouldn't be feeling like this, but honestly, it's okay. It's okay if it happens to you. This is where like you really lean on your close friends and family, and you just tell yourself it's gonna be fine. You're fine. This is what just happens sometimes after having a baby. Yeah. So, and even now, like I feel like I'm definitely more of a crier now, but I mean that's fine. Nothing wrong with crying. The 9th thing I learned is that you will have more strength and perseverance than you've ever had. Oh my gosh. And the major thing that stands out for me on this point is when Max, I will never forget this, when Max was 3 months, we had like a bunch of people over visiting him, like probably 8 people. Yeah, so there's a few people in the house. And growing up, Max had like really, really, really bad colic. Colic is when you have trapped wind in your stomach, and for us, you know, that can be painful. So imagine that for a baby, and the only way they can get rid of it is like winding them, if they wind or if they fart. And now we know that like he had it a lot more than babies usually have it because of that cow's milk protein allergy. So he would get it all the time. And so that night in particular is 3 months. He had it for 3 hours. So this is 3 hours of screaming, crying. It was, and like you can tell he's in pain. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, I was like, is he hungry? I ought to feed him. Then like he was still I was breastfeeding. I would only breastfeed him to pacify him at that point when he was 3 months. So that would work for like 3 minutes to 5 minutes, and then he'll be back to screaming, crying again. By the end of it, his eyes were literally red, like around his eyes were, when I say bright red, his lips were bright red. And I thought I was about to be like, oh my gosh, like, is he gonna pass out from crying? And I remember like my brother-in-law and sister-in-law were like so helpful. Like they stayed with me the whole time trying to figure everything out while Ron was in there in the living room trying to like entertain the people that had come from pretty far to visit him. And I think that night I was like, wow, like by the grace of God he got through it. Basically, my brother-in-law Jason was holding him and he said that, oh, he just had a big burp and a big fart at the same time, like rumbled through his body, and then like he literally just fell asleep right after. But that night I was like, wow, like I went through this, like obviously with the help of other people because I had to have help with other people, but I'm like, if I can go through this and like I'm strong. Because I just couldn't imagine having like emotionally going through that. Yeah, and like you just end up, yeah, like I just feel like you just are so strong for your child and you have to persevere through so much, and I just didn't realize like that strength that I had for him. Yeah, and even other, I mean, everyone's situation is different, but like I just think that mothers are a lot stronger than they think they are. There's another, I feel like there's just a new strength that you have like when you have a baby. Number 10 is that you appreciate your mother a lot more. After having Max, like I just get it. Like motherhood is a lot. Like there's so many different aspects to it, and I'm like, how did my mom do it? Like with 3 kids, like I just give her a lot more credit now than like I used to. It's not easy, and especially for single moms out there. Like I have a whole new take on it. Like I really give props to them. Yeah, you just really appreciate your mother a lot more, like all she did, the sacrifices, because you don't even know, like as a child you don't even think about what is going on. Like you just see them like provide for you and take care of you and like try to give you the best, and even when they can't always give you what you want, like you're just like, oh, why can't I have this? I'm like as a mother now, I'm like, gosh, like mothers are amazing. Like my mom really tried. Like she's such a good mother. Yeah, so I have a lot more appreciation for her. And the last point, the 11th point is that it will really, maternity leave like would really test your relationship with God. For me, that was the case. May not be that case for everyone. But after having Max, like my quiet times decreased drastically. And it's just because I was so tired in the beginning all the time that like I just didn't know when to do it. And then I didn't really have a routine, so it wasn't like, okay, I'm gonna wake up this time, have my quiet time this time, tend to Max this time. Yeah. So that is why I really regret not making enough time for God in the beginning. But you know, I just thank God for the grace, because I'm not condemned. I never felt condemned by him. So I just thank God for his grace that like we can notice that what we did was wrong and we can get back up again and make a change. So I've learned that it really takes planning to actually make time for God when you have a young baby. And what has been really good is that like as much as like I don't want to wake up super duper early, you just, if that's for me, like that's the only way I could get it done. So Ron wakes up around like 5 a.m. to have his quiet time. I was like, you know what, Max isn't up, damn it, let me just go do it with him. So that was what I had to do to like actually make sure I can make time with God. But I would say like if you're in the stage now where like don't feel condemned, or you know, it's good to feel convicted but don't feel condemned, because like God understands, like God sees what stage we are in our lives. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. Work starts tomorrow. I love my job, so I am excited, but I know it's going to be a massive adjustment. Definitely have mom guilt settling in about like I'm not going to spend that much time with him. But you know what? Like, I think once we get a balance of everything is going to be fine. Yeah. So that's it. I hope this helps someone. I think I like kind of watching these videos when I was pregnant and now. So yeah, thanks for watching. And this is super long. If you watch this all the way to the end, thank you. Bye.